with Sweet England, the big thing was being played on Radio 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 all at the same time, which I don't think anybody else was doing at the time.
Excellent.
But I think, I'm glad to have collected. But the thing is, Jackie's cover of the Sugar Cubes track, Birthday, that keeps being played on Six Music, and it's been playlisted on XFM, which is something I've been trying to do for years. And she kind of comes along and does a tango version of a Bjork song and suddenly gets in this thing. So, that's the track on Jackie's record that I probably had the most hand in. So I'm pleased, but I guess it shows you can never tell. There's something weird going on at the moment. People do seem to want to hear this music, and while there's been a kind of nascent folk revival for a long time, probably spearheaded more by I would say being completely objective about this. John and John are the people. They're in some ways they're my peers, but that they're the figureheads of this. It's them that are the reason for all of this, for a lot of people. But at the same time, there wasn't really a crossover for ages, and now it kind of belatedly seems to be. While people like me or Eliza or John and John or or Julie Fowlis or Cara Dillon could get a thing in. Could get a thing in the Guardian on a Friday with relatively easily, and there was or get on later or something like that. It was always the slightly it was very hard to get your stuff played on the radio or get people to take it not at novelty value, but by novelty I mean as a thing of I like this, and then here's a bit of good folk music as well to supplement my main thing. It was very hard to get people to take it seriously. So I don't know what's happened. People like Jackie, while again, she's incredibly talented and good at what she does, that people like that wouldn't have stood a chance of getting played on Radio 1, Six Music, 10 years ago. When I started making Sweet England, this was just impossible.
Yeah.
None of us could do that. So there is something that's happened. There's something collectively that's happened. Which again, don't get me wrong, I'm not crediting myself as being a thing, but I think as a collective effort, there is a thing where a lot of very talented musicians who were well-rounded and presentable and knew what they were doing and were quite driven, all came along at the same time. Round about 2002, 2003, there was lots of people who I met for the first time playing the same slots at the same festivals who've all risen together, and that's the thing that's changed it. I think that there's that it's a group effort here, and the fact that there's that there's a strong representing English folk music. There's a really strong. There's just safe pairs of hands around.
You just filmed some stuff for Skins recently.
Yeah. You might have got the wrong end of the stick for that, though. I wasn't acting. No, Skins obviously is about Bristol and is set in Bristol. So they try and include Bristol landmarks and Bristol things in it. So the Bristol Morris men are in an episode of Skins. I don't really want to spoil it by explaining anything about this. However, myself, my friend Jack Worth, who... Well, I hope this isn't breaching too many rules, but there's Jackie's boyfriend.
Right.
Who else is in it? Various members of Bristol Morris Men. Our friend John, who lives down the road. We all turned up on a Sunday and we spent a day filming for Skins. Yeah. So that depending on how it comes out in the edit, we might end up on the cutting room floor. Yeah. But we do play a kind of minor part of a fairly pivotal scene in the next series of Skins.
Okay.
So it was a Morris. They wanted Morris dancers, and they want Bristol Morris Men have quite a established side in Bristol.
You're also in the trailer for A Life with Bells On.
Yeah.
As well. You're in the trailer, but not in the film. Or?
No, I'm not in the film. No. I think they made the film on very little budget, relatively, and since they made it, it was working out what to do with it, that they've since met and, you know, found themselves in the folk world. So that came about because a friend of mine was doing the marketing for the soundtrack, and got in touch to say that he had this idea for a film for like viral marketing stuff, and could I help, because they didn't know who to contact. Well, actually, I didn't ring up. I collared Eliza at Sidmouth and said, "Would you and your dad? Do you think you'd do this?" And explained the film, and explained it to them, and she said, "Yeah," and I put them in contact. I also got in contact with Ashley Hutchings and asked him to do it. There was other people I asked as well who didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put them in contact with all those people. Unfortunately, we couldn't get in contact with Seth. Seth was supposed to do that as well, or that was their plan to get him to do it, and that didn't happen. There was a few people that it's a shame it didn't happen.
That's very amusing.
But yeah, I made the introductions and put that together for them.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think it's actually the film might have a positive impact for Morris dancing?
I don't know. It's a kind of British comedy in that kind of mould of the Full Monty or Brassed Off or whatever. So I don't think so. I mean, there is something afoot with Morris dancing, but again, it's the same thing as with English folk music in general. I think what it is there's a tipping point when all of those people that were kids and weren't very visible get to be young adults and can and go out into the world and go, actually, you know, we're really good at this, and this isn't embarrassing, and you know, it isn't embarrassing because, you know, when you see this done well with people that are proud of doing what they're doing, there's no embarrassment there. So I don't think the film is necessarily the thing that will have the impact. I think there's something afoot in dancing, and it's because, you know, for all the Morris ring complaining that sides are dying out, I think Morris sides that are dying out isn't necessarily a sad thing, because there are still plenty of sides keeping a tradition going.
Yeah.
And if sides stop because the dancers, you know, that leave or drift away or get too old to dance, then that's fine. You know, they had a good run, because there's plenty of other sides that are vibrant and can keep going. If something, it's a bit like folk clubs. I think folk clubs closing down is always sad, but not necessarily something that, you know, should be mourned too much. Because there's, you know, it's not like the music is in danger of dying or folk clubs as a concept are in danger of dying. It's just individual places haven't got enough stuff to sustain them.
Yeah.
And there's the dot always moves somewhere else. So, I mean, we've got a new Morris side in Bristol, which again is me and Jack, and it's some people that were in Morris Offspring that are kind of keeping things going. But the brief with that is to start a new side where you get to say, if something is good, then let's do it, and if it's not, then we don't have to do it just because that's the way it's always been done.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm really excited about that. I'm really, really enjoying that at the moment, because, I mean, I've got a bit of a thing about Morris music of I don't enjoy a lot of Morris sides music. Just, you know, it's just my personal thing.
Yeah.
I would want to hear it done differently. So, and you know, and I think a lot of sides dance a certain way because that's the way that they do it, rather than because it looks good with that set of people. So the brief with None Such is very much that, you know, there are rules, but there are no rules. You know, the rules are all about, is it good? If yes, continue. If no, go back to square one.
So bright future then for Morris.
I think so. I mean, I think certainly. I think so. I really hope so. I mean, it's not my main thing. It's something I do of a Wednesday evening, Thursday evening. But it is something that I feel passionate about defending.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, completely.
I think you know, that everybody would. Again, you could speak to virtually anybody in this field, and they'd say the same thing. The difference is, I guess, that I turn up to, you know, Morris practice and go and do it, and I don't, you know, I want to get kind of stuck in actually, you know, the best way to do something about it is to go and do it.
Yeah, completely.
You know?